Hi everyone, David here from daviddumaiaudio.com, and in this video, I want to redesign the cloud kill weapon from Borderlands 3. So I've taken a video, I've stripped out the audio, and I've redesigned everything layer by layer, and I'd like to just go through that with you so that you can hopefully see how I've done it, maybe get some ideas, and learn a few things along the way. So before we jump in, if you're new here, like I said before, my name's David. I like to create sound effects, and if you'd like to do that as well, I have a free gift for you. It is my 5 layering techniques PDF. It's a little PDF I put together, just going over 5 different layering techniques that you can use to create better sound effects. So if you want to grab that, you can get it for free. Links will be in the description. All right, let's get into our project. All right, so here's the project. Before we actually get started, what I thought we'd do is I'll just quickly go over my project and how I have it set up. So just at the top up here, I have the video and the audio from the original source. So this is the original audio from the gameplay. Right underneath here, I have 3 instances of faceplant, and this is kind of where I generated all of the layers for the gun sounds. And we'll go through how I created some of these a bit later on. Next down here, I have the cool off sound. I have a bit lower here, I have the preloading, the loading sound, and then all these yellow lines are for me to help me line up the markers for the gunshots, and these are all the gunshots. So just so you know exactly what you're looking at here. And these are just extras, they're actually not being used. All right, so what I thought we'd do is actually start with the original. We'll have a look at mine, and then let's break down each different section and how I created them. So let's start with the original here. So that is what I've designed so far. I haven't gone past that, so pretty short, but hopefully we can get some good sounds out of this. So here is my completed version for this section. So that was the original that we just listened to. Now this is going to be my version. All right, so a little bit different. I wasn't trying to recreate it and make it exactly the same. I did want to recreate it, but not make it exactly the same. I really did want to have my own touch to it and make it my own in a way. But I did want to kind of obviously take the original and kind of follow that as a guideline. So, all right, so why don't we start right at the beginning? Why don't we start with the loading sound here? All right, so when I was redesigning this, I actually like to think about it in 3 different sections. So I had the first section right up here, which was the loading sound. We had our next section here, which was all the gunshots here. And then we had our final section down here, which was like the cool off after the weapon had finished its mag. So why don't we work on these one at a time here? So let's start with the load. All right, so I'm just gonna make this screen a little bit smaller here, just so it's not eating up my CPU so hard. Okay, so let's have a listen to what I've done here. So a few things here. So the first thing is these 2 first layers here. These are just small clicks, and I got that from just looking at the start here. From the original, it also has these click sounds. So it almost sounds like you're lighting a lighter or something like that. That's what it sounded like. So I didn't want to make mine so much of a lighter type of sound. I wanted it to be a bit more unnatural or sci-fi, so that's why I did this. And the way I created these, they're pretty simple. I just went into faceplant. I don't remember which one it was. Probably this bottom one here. So let's open this up, and I'll show you how I did it. It's pretty simple. All right, so inside of faceplant here, what I did is I had a sampler loaded, had a distortion on that sampler. And I also had some analog being applied to, the sine wave being applied to the phase here, just to have a bit of FM going on. It's really not very much, though. You probably don't even hear it. And what I loaded in here were just what I call my sound design sampling files. These are just long files where I just create these textures that evolve over time, and they're always changing in sound and stuff. So they're just these kind of long files that I like to create just to be creative, create new sounds, and then once I have these files created, then I can just go in here and I can just scan through them and see if there's any kind of sections that sound good for what I need. So that's what I did for these clicks. I just went in here. So right now I'm not on the right kind of transient. I probably had a different kind of transient, so I'm going to choose something else, maybe something more like this and more like this. So this is kind of how I created these clicks. Probably had this a bit lower. And by the way, this is being applied, this LFO here is being applied to the pitch. Anyway, so I just scanned through a bunch of these files until I found a little clicky sound that I liked, and that's what I put on here. And then once I had that, I just put on manipulator, increase the harmonics here. So if I take this off, like that's the sound, and then put it on, it's quite a bit higher pitch, and I wanted it higher pitch because if not, it kind of blended in too much with the rest of the loading sound. And then I think I copied this and pasted it down here. I replicated it. And then this is the second sound I had. And then I did a different kind of processing on this one. Actually, this is a different sound. So I had printed out like a many like little clicks, and then I just took a different click from the many ones that I did, and then I put this one on. So again, same idea here with a manipulator. Just pitched it up a little bit. So together, they kind of sound like one, but you have your higher pitch one here and then lower pitch one here. Okay, so pretty simple here. All right, next is this one. So my strategy for this one, or what I heard in the original. So if we listen to the original, so what I hear two things. I hear like a something dropping, like the pitch dropping, and then I hear also a sound of something rising. So you have this rising and dropping at the same time, which is a very common technique. So you have this like the bass drop and then like a synth rising or something like that. It's pretty subtle, but this opposite motion really creates a nice effect. And that's what I was going for here. So I wanted to have one layer of something dropping and then at least one layer of something rising. And that's what I created here. So this one here, I think, is my dropping layer. So the pitch is dropping here. And then I had one here of rising, right? So that's the synth rising. And then, so these two together now. And again, the same way that I created these was the exact same way. So I had something like this. So this is, yeah, I think this was actually like the exact same one. So this is just a separate tone that I created. It's actually a pretty bad one because it was like one of the first ones I ever made. But with this shepherd tone, then I could just apply an LFO here, which is just a ramp up, and I'm applying it to the pitch. So it's just like sweeping up. So that's what I did. I pitched that up. I think, yeah, that's how I created that. And I also did the same thing for for this one. I think I just had it a bit higher pitched. I might have also used for the rising synth. I might have actually turned off my sampler and actually put in like a wavetable because it's a bit more clean that way. And then I can just modulate it with FM. But yeah, so that was the rising one. I also had like from my bass drop, I did kind of the same idea, just the opposite. So instead of a ramp up, I just had a ramp down. I can just, I just scroll through like one of these sections until I found something like that I liked, found the right pitch of it, of course, as well. And then I just print that out and here it is. So yeah, and then the last section here, this one, I want it to be something a bit more, a different kind of layer. And this one I put a tremolo on. So, and this one, it just helps to sell that sound like the gun is getting, is ramping up to fire. And again, this technique is the exact same thing as I did for these other ones. Inside of Faceplant, I had a ramp up going up, sweeping through my files. And then what I did is I just applied a tremolo, which you can see like I already have my tremolo up here. So if I look at, if it was this one, if I put the tremolo on for this one, that's pretty much the exact sound. And that's how I created that. And you'll see here that this parameter here is getting modulated. The reason for that is because inside of Reaper, I'm using the parameter modulation. So I'm using the audio signal from Faceplant to modulate this parameter here. So it's basically slowing down the tremolo as the volume gets louder. Right, so that's how I created the sound, and then layered them all together. That's what that sounds like. So you have your click at the beginning, which I just took from the original here. You have your sweep, your downer, so something going down in pitch. You have something going up in pitch, and then you have this sci-fi tremolo effect. And together, it sounds pretty good, I think. All right, so that is my loading sound. All right, next let's go into the gunshot. So the gunshot I actually built out separately on the side, as you can see here, before I actually put them out to go with the video. So I did this separately. I did this separately so that I could work on it and get a nice finalized sound before I actually copied and pasted them over. So let's go over these. So I think the one I started with was actually down here. So what I noticed from the original and just from studying guns from this game is they have one sound or one like kick or punch sound that really pierces through and cuts through the mix for each of their guns. So I really wanted to make that for my sounds. And the way I did that is I had a nice kick sound. So you'll see here, I have actually a lot of effects. Maybe I'll turn these off. This is my original sound. So it's okay. It's just like a kick. And the way I did that again in Faceplant, I just had my design sample files. I used the pitch to I had an envelope assigned to the pitch so that it goes down really fast and creates this kick. And then that's how I created this. So once I had that, I wanted to make it a bit more distorted. So it's a bit punchier. I added disperser as well. This just adds a bit of bass to the sound. Subsynth. Again, more sub in the sound. Then I added a transient shaper. And what the transient shaper is actually doing is I cut out a lot of the end, a lot of the tail, because I really wanted that punch to just be it right at the beginning and that's it. And then the rest of the layers would take care of the body of the sound. So so my idea behind starting this is that I really wanted this layer to punch through. So the way I did that is for almost every layer here, you'll see I have track spacer. So not every layer, I think 3 of the 5 layers have track spacer. The reason for that is I'm routing this layer into track spacer so that these don't mask this punch layer. So every time I have this punch layer, I always want to hear it. So let's hear it together with this one here. So you can still hear that punch layer if I add it again now with this one. Again, here with this one, I did have track spacer because I found that if I didn't have it, it would mask it. So let's hear it without it on. Right, so I always want to have that punch be piercing through every single time. So that's how I created these. And let's go to the next layer here. So again, every time that punch is always flowing through. Okay, so let's actually talk about like how I created these, and let's see if I can actually remember. So I already talked a little bit about the punch or the kick here. For these other layers, most of these were created the exact same way, which is inside of Faceplant here. So if I open these up, what I would do is I would have these files. And all I would do is, because they're always different textures and stuff, I can play across my keyboard at different intervals, at different octaves, and get different sounds. So if I want something higher pitch, I would just play higher on my keyboard, and then I can create these higher pitch sounds. And what I did is I basically am applying like a ramp down or some sort of LFO that is ramping down to create this kind of laser shot sound. So if I look here, I have a few transient guns that I've created here. These are just LFOs that I assign directly to the pitch here. Sometimes I'll bring the pitch up like that so it affects it even more. Right, so you can already hear that kind of gun sound. Right, and they're always different. So that's how I created these layers, is just exactly like that until I found specific frequencies that I was looking for. So that's how I created this one here. Again, I was going for something more high frequency. This one is more laser-like. But again, same higher frequency stuff. This one here. This one's actually different. Because I think this one, or was it this one here? Let me see. No, it was this top one. So this top one here, I actually created a bit differently because I used an actual wavetable, which I'll talk about pretty soon. So this one, same idea. This one, I'm pretty sure had a lot of FM applied to the sound. So inside of Faceplant, if you open up face plant here, you can have your sampler, and then outside of your sampler, so that you don't actually hear the sound, you can have like an analog. I usually use a sine wave, and then I apply that sine wave to the phase here, and that creates this very FM sound. That's how I created this layer here. But same concept, same idea. Next, I had this one. Again, same idea. I'm just playing really high on my keyboard so that the sounds are really short, and yeah, I'm just getting this higher pitch sound, higher frequency sound. And then here one. So this one is a bit different because this one I actually used a wavetable for this. So for this one, I actually created a wavetable like this, put it up here, assign the analog to that wavetable, and created a gunshot that way. Now, if you actually want to see how I do that within Faceplant, I actually made a video. I'll put it in the cards above. But yeah, that's kind of the way I did it. Again, it's a very similar technique, but I'm using wavetable, so it's purely synthesis instead of using a sampler. All right, so altogether, this is what the shot sounds like now. Like that. So now, once I had these layers out, what I did is I put them all on here. I had all of them lined up with the actual original gunshot here and to the video. And what I did is I actually selected them all. So I selected them all, and what I did is I applied some variation to them because I didn't want them to sound all the exact same. So once I had all of them selected like this, what I used was LKC Variator, which is free inside of Reaper. And I just applied a little bit of pitch, tape and stretch, and rate modulation. So each of them got a little bit of that so that they're all a little bit different. And yeah, because or else you get too much of that machine gun sound, which is not really what you want. I mean, it's okay, but I want it to be a little bit better than that. So that's what I did there. I could probably do even more variation, but this is what it sounds like now with them lined up and with a bit of variation. So if I take that again, let's see if I can mutate again and see what it sounds any different. So it's a little bit too much. Some of them are like off now because of I guess probably the change of pitch. So I probably have to go back in and like line them up properly again. But yeah, that's how I created that. And then the last part of this design here is at the end when you're nearing the end of the magazine or the end of your ability to fire because you're out of ammo. It's very common for games to have some sort of high-pitched rising sound. This can either be sounds of clips rising, or in this case, because it's a sci-fi weapon, some sort of sci-fi sound rising or electric sound rising. So this is what I created here, and you can hear that in the original. So let's hear it here. So if you play from here, there'll be nothing. And then right around this middle section here, you'll start to hear this sci-fi bleeping sound. Right? And that's just to signify to the player that that you're about to overheat the weapon or you're about to be out of ammo. So same idea. That's what I wanted to do here. So the first thing I created was actually this one here. Right, again, inside of Faceplant, same idea. I had just my sounds. I had something being pitched up, and that's how I created that. If I take off manipulator here, this is what it sounds like. And then with manipulator on, so I'm just affecting the format with this sine wave here. Like that. Yeah, so nothing too crazy, too complex. Next, I added another layer, which was this one here. And this one was, again, the exact same idea here within Faceplant. I had my samples, except the sample that I chosen was a more rhythmic one. So that's why you hear all these kind of weird rhythms in here, these that are not in time. That's what that's from. I was just playing really high on my keyboard so that I get this rhythmic pattern going. And then what I did is I just put on track spacer on here because I didn't want this to be the main layer. I wanted this rising sound to be the main layer. So you can see here, it's cutting out some sound here because I really want to hear this sound more than this one. This one is just higher frequency, so it'll already pierce and cut through the mix easily, but this will not. All right, next, the last thing I did is to kind of tie the gun together is that the same load sound that I had at the beginning here, I actually put at the end, except this was just a different variation that I had put up. So if I take these two off here and I put here, so this is the beginning, right? So it's the same sound, just a different variation of it that I had created. And then I just layered it with these two. And it just works really well. I especially had to make sure that these were high frequency sounds for these two layers because the rest it wouldn't cut in the mix, especially with a gunshot, because it's too, like the body of the sound is too full. And then at the end, I could actually add this because the gunshots are actually pretty much done at this point. So it's okay. So let's actually hear it again without this. So I'll take it off so you can hear the difference of that it makes. Okay, now let's put it back in. And there you go. And then the last thing that I did, or one of the last things I did, is for the gunshots, I wanted to add a bit of reverb. So that's what I did here. I have Symphony 3D on here, and I just have an exterior preset. And what I did is I put the mix down around 50s at 46, and I increased the reverb time a little bit, just so you could still hear it after the last gunshot. So that you can still feel that sense of space, because you can see we're outdoors. So I wanted to make it feel like you're in a big outdoors environment. So yeah, so let's have a listen again. So that's pretty much it. So let's just have a listen to it again one more time from the top with everything included. And yeah, let's go. All right, so that's it. I hope you guys found that useful and valuable. Let me know what you thought about it. I don't do a lot of these kind of breakdown videos. Let me know if you actually find them useful or valuable or not, or if I'm missing something. Maybe you want me to go more in depth about like how I created specific sounds in here, or just by like analyzing different parts of the sound or whatever. I don't know. But let me know, because I want to be able to help you guys out. So let me know what you think. Leave it in the comments below. I always do my best to check them and answer them. So yeah, anyways, that's it for this video. Just a reminder to grab that free PDF in the description for creating better sound effects using different layering techniques. And so that's it for now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.